Today's episode is brought to you by Smithburg Auto of Fairfield, Iowa, Henshaw Trailer Sales of Richland, Iowa, the Packwood Locker of Packwood, Iowa, and the Cedar Rapids Titans Arena football team, which you can catch on Round Guide Radio, all their home games, starting this Sunday at 5 o'clock as they take on the Midwest Raptors. We got Coach Rawson of the Mount Pleasant Panthers, who's been playing extremely well in the second half. Welcome to the program, Coach.
Jay, thanks for having us on again.
Well,
Appreciate
you it's been a little while since I talked to you, but we kind of picked out three key games that you got. I know you've done very well in the SEC, big wins in Washington, Fairfield, Fort Madison, kind of crawled your way back up near the top of the SEC. But I want to talk to you about this game that I watched you play with Oskaloosa, who is a tremendous team. But it was the I didn't see all your games, but of all the games that I saw, I never saw you play better than in that one. Tell us a little bit about that game.
Yeah, guys were, really dialed in and focused going into that one. It was on the road at Oskaloosa. That's a team at the time was in the top 10, and they've kind of fallen in and out of that, but respected in that manner. It's a team that has swept Pella this year, and they play in a tough conference. So, we knew we'd be in for a fight for certain. And, it came down to a one possession game. And, we got off to a good start, comfortable start, and had a really good second quarter. Just our offensive game plan going into it was really dialed in. And defensively, we've been pretty solid after Christmas defensively. I'm happy with our defensive effort. And, that night we held Oski to 45. So, really happy with the way we defended, and, didn't give them easy looks, and it showed in the end for us that night. Yeah, I think the final was 48-45. So it was good, definitely a good win for the Panthers on the road.
It certainly was. Well, let's see. What was the other? You had a game with Ottumwa that also you went on the road, I think, and put up another big win and played very well in that one too, didn't you?
Yep. Ottumwa was this past Monday, and that was a dominant win for us, 64-36. And Ottumwa had been playing well as of late. They won 2 of their last 4, and they play in that league they play in, with Ames and Des Moines Roosevelt and some of those Des Moines schools and Marshalltown. They see it night in, night out. So they're not intimidated when the Panthers come to town. But again, we started off well, held them to single-digit quarters defensively, really got after. We're rebounding the basketball extremely well in that game, and things were clicking. We were hitting shots, so it was a nice game for us.
Okay. Another game I want to talk to you about was Mid Prairie. Mid Prairie, excellent team. And you tend to battle them every year, at least once there, I think. Tell us a little bit about how you guys put it together in that game against that very good team.
Yeah, no, it was, and it's nice to have Mid Prairie at home. I think we played them on the road the last three seasons, and there was a season in there that we were going to have them at home, and they got snowed out and never got made up. But long story short, when we had Mid Prairie at home, very athletic, well-coached team that just loves to shoot the three. They put pressure on the defense. They can put it on the floor, and they definitely got some guys that can shoot it, and they shoot it with confidence. But again, defensively, we were locked in. We held them to 42, and just happy with our defensive effort against Mid Prairie.
Okay. Well, let me ask you: was there a game where some kid had a career night, or was there someone have a big 3-point shooting night, or a big rebounding night, or anything individual performance that we could talk a little bit about?
So we had a game. So that week we played Mid Prairie. We also played Washington that Friday, and then we followed back up with Mediapolis the next day on a Saturday afternoon. And Mediapolis, it's kind of similar in a way to Mid Prairie as far as wanting to put it on the floor. They got good guard play and can shoot the three. Again, we were dialed in defensively that afternoon and held Mediapolis to 35. points that Saturday, but man, we shot the basketball extremely well that day. Our field goal percentage was 68.3, and that set a school record for us. 28 for 41 from the field, and we shot it well too from three that day, 8 for 16, so we were 50% from deep and 4 for 7 from the free throw line. So even our effective field goal percentage was 78%, which is through the roof, which would have been a school record in itself. But no, that was a fun afternoon for us.
All right, well, I'm going to go through we're talking about the whole season here, and you just tell me whether you're happy with where the team ended versus where they started. We'll start with free throws. How do you feel about your team shooting free throws?
Well, that's kind of flipped itself a little bit. Early on, we shot a ton of free throws, and we were making them. And then we hit a stretch where we went pretty cold, and we weren't making free throws at all. And we're kind of back on track. It's kind of a roller coaster ride in that regard. We're not getting to the line as much as we were early on. And some of that could be just how we're approaching the offensive end a little bit differently than we were at the first half. But again, the free throw thing is, we'll knock them down one game, and the other day we're 500 at the line, so 50% rather. So it's kind of hit and miss. Depends who's shooting.
And it depends on the night. What about the inside game? Both the rebounding, the scoring, the second chance shots. How do you feel about? I know that Oskaloosa game. I thought you really rebounded well and defended the hoop pretty good. How's that part of the game going for you?
Yeah, you certainly need a rebound at a high level to compete. Especially in 3A, you got to be able to bang around. You can't shy away from contact, and certainly has got to come from all five positions. And I think we do a nice job on the glass. Just for total rebounds per game, I think we're in the top 5 in our class. So that says a lot. And kids have certainly bought into that aspect of the game, and they got a nose for the basketball and get after it. So I think we had 40 rebounds against Ottumwa, just able to limit second chance opportunities. And with that being said, then getting out and able to run and attack the basket. So, we're rebounding really effectively.
What about 3-point shooting? How's your team doing at that, and how happy are you with them?
Again, against Ottumwa, we shot the ball well from 3. I think we were 10 for 23 that game. So, typically we don't take maybe that many attempts from 3, but certainly had some open looks with that inside outside, flow to it. And we banged down some shots. Ryan Helling was shooting the basketball pretty well. He hit his first 4, I think, against West Burlington the other night in the first quarter. Aiden Humble, certainly when he catches on, those two, make it tough to guard that inside-outside action that we like. And Grayson Lowry hit a few here and there, and Brody Clark's knocked some down here recently. And, kid, too, is Grayson Walken, just talking a little bit about our JV. He had, I think, 6 or 7 3-pointers the other night. So happy to see us knock that long ball down when given the opportunity.
All right. Well, my crack staff has put together a list of the all-round guy team, and you do have a player on it, and it is Isaiah Big Bang Lang. Tell us a little bit about Isaiah. We know he's a great football player. We know he's turned out to be a great basketball player. He's an incredible athlete. Tell us a little bit about what he means to the Mount Pleasant Panthers game, and how's he doing in the role that you give him?
Yeah, super great kid. Isaiah's a sophomore, about 6'5", and big body kid, strong kid. That class has really transformed the weight room environment, and they've taken it to heart. They understand that the time you spend in there is going to spend dividends for you elsewhere, and it certainly has done so with Isaiah. So he's great on the glass for us. He's able to score in the post. we don't have him shooting a whole lot out around the perimeter, but in practice we do see it. So he's able to put it on the floor and get to the basket. He's just a big body kid, and he's got a quick first step, and he's a nice player. He's a special kid, good family. He's just soft spoken and always has a smile on his face. So that certainly relaxes everybody in moments. A good leader. Certainly plays with a lot of heart and certainly knows how to compete and wants to win.
Well, is there a player or an aspect of the game that you feel like showed a lot of improvement? I mean, whether it was passing or rebounding or scoring, or maybe a player that expanded his role and maybe impressed you this year.
Early on we had problems with getting sped up and guard play has certainly improved for us here in the second half. And part of that too is what we've done defensively and the buy-in that we've got on the defensive side of the ball. Your defense leads to your offense, and when able to get stops and get out and go, that's helped us. But again, even in the half court, I think we're operating at a good level, at a high level, and we're effective and efficient. And so I'm happy with our guard play and how that's developed over time. And certainly our inside game too. I know we talk a lot about our inside play, but it also starts with the guard play, being able to get the ball to the bigs and do what we need to do. So I'm happy in that regard. And we knew that, coming into this, with an extra week of football and playoff football, and, it takes a little bit of time in that first half to see what you got. And if you got to make changes, you do so. And we certainly have hit a good flow state here the second half of the year.
Okay. You came in, there's a lot of excitement about the team. And because of injuries and a few things, you didn't get off to a great start. But it does seem like right now that you maybe are kind of meeting those expectations. What do you think? But, what are you doing much better later in the season than you were doing earlier in the season?
Our inside play has changed. Just we've tweaked some things offensively and again defensively. We've tweaked a few things. So, and those things, we feel have helped, put us in the win column. So again, it certainly has helped, having Ryan Helling, in the lineup. He was not in there before Christmas, and neither was Noah Lang. So, when you got those guys back and the changes that we've made, things are just really clicking.
Okay. Well, you want to kind of run over the season stats, maybe for some of your starters or some of your contributors that aren't Isaiah Lang or Helling or some of those guys. Who are some of the other players that maybe somebody come off the bench and did a good job for you?
Grayson Lowry's the kid that started. That he's been in the starting lineup now and plays with tremendous energy. I mean, he's just a go getter, and he's not afraid to bang around and sacrifice. And he's doing a tremendous job from the guard spot as far as being able to rebound the basketball and distribute the basketball. I think he had 7 assists against Ottumwa and a low turnover margin too. So like what Lowry is doing for us, he's been good. So Brody Clark again's coming on here a little bit late, kind of understanding his role a little bit more and doing a nice job defensively and helping run the offense when he's in there. Just from a bench standpoint and guys you may not see on the floor, but certainly bring it in practice or bring it at the JV level. And these guys are sophomores. Tate George, he's going to be a floor general for us, and he's a gamer and gets after it. Maybe a little undersized right now, but he's a year off, and we're looking for good things from Tate George in the future. And Caleb Shepard, he's a sophomore, spends a lot of time with us in the gym, just splitting time between JV and varsity, both those guys, and we ask a lot about them. And Caleb's another one that he's a sophomore. He's good size. He's athletic. Moves well. Looking forward to what he can do in the future. And Carter Gelling has kind of been back and forth between some varsity and JV, and we sent him back down to JV and to get some more floor time and some confidence, and that certainly has helped and has gone a long way, and he's going to be a special player for us. Caden Schott's another sophomore that's had a really nice season at the JV level. He's recently sprained an ankle, unfortunately, but a kid that's springy, he can jump, strong kid. He's going to be one too down the road that is going to be fun to be with. So just happy with the way our JV and our lower programs are playing. Certainly at the freshman level, there's another Walker, big body kid. So he's doing well. Caught some JV minutes here recently, and Jake Musselman is Musselman, and he's going to be a nice player for us at the guard spot as a freshman. Pretty good sized kid right now, and he can shoot it. So we like what we have, at that sophomore and freshman group, and they're playing well, and certainly to go along with the guys that we have with us right now, it's going to be a good combination and should be some fun basketball moving forward.
When it comes to injuries, you're kind of like this old blues song. If it wasn't for bad luck, I wouldn't have no luck at all. You've had a lot of, I don't know if you've had any of the flu that's hit almost everyone on the planet here, at least in Southeast Iowa. Basketball is a game of momentum, and you get started practicing, you got to take a break for Thanksgiving, and then you get the season going, and there's some weather, and you may have some starting and stopping, and then you get it going real good, and then there's a 2-week Christmas break, and then then next thing you know, you're playing 4 and 5 games a week, back-to-back games. I think that's probably why there's only 3 undefeated teams left in the state. Talk to me a little bit about how you kind of keep the momentum going and how you got to just keep plugging guys in when other guys are hurt and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's really bought in with the role that they have, and they've got good attitudes, and they lean on each other. They play for each other. They play with what's on their chest, and certainly come with it with a lot of energy. So it's a good group to have. They're good kids, and certainly at this stage in the game, the kind of the hay's in the barn, so to speak. So you may need to touch on a few things here and there, but you don't necessarily need to reinvent the wheel and keep chugging along.
Well, I'm a big believer in it. Really, the only thing that really matters is how you play down the stretch. How good you're playing when you start the playoffs, and I think you're hitting that category pretty good. I actually think you might be kind of dangerous draw in the playoffs there. Tell me, I know that the playoff brackets aren't out, but I guess we can speculate a little bit. Do you have any idea, or I know you still got one more conference game? How many more games you got left?
So we've got 2 games. We'll play at Fairfield on Friday, and then we're at Pella on Tuesday. But our pairings are going to come out on the 23rd, that Monday. So, we'll know, or excuse me, the 16th is when the pairings are going to come out. So on President's Day. So we'll have we'll know where we're going, and certainly it's since the state has kind of taken that over as far as seedings go within your sub-state. At one point in time is like, all right, guys, here's your sub-state. These are the 8 teams, and then the head coaches got together and they seeded those teams. Well, there's some discrepancy when that was going on, and they've gotten away from that, and the state has taken it over. So they pot them and they'll seed them. It's kind of based on the power rankings that you see through Bound and the BC Moore rankings through the state. So they'll seed it. It's hard to say if they'll keep you think you may know, but you don't. So
That's where that's where my marriage goes.
and yeah, you got to be able to hit the curveball. So we'll see where we land. I could see us with Keokuk and Fort Madison and maybe Burlington and heck even Fairfield. For that matter, I don't know. I think they're going to send. Yeah, Fairfield could get sent west. We could get sent west. They may keep the others more on the east, and it's hard to say. But Keokuk could be a one. They haven't hit that top 10 yet, but they very well could come out Monday and be a 1 seed or a 2. With that being said, we may see Xavier as a 1 or a 2. We could see Solon as a 1 or a 2. If we go west, you got Oski and Pella in there, and Knoxville, who's playing well with a big win recently against Oski. So it'll be interesting to see where they send and how they pod this thing. And for the Panthers, I think we're probably a 6 and maybe a 5, but I'd see us at a 6. And if that's the case, we're playing a 3 and you'll be on the road. So we could see Marion again. We could see Mount Vernon. We could see Clear Creek and Manna. We could see DeWitt Central. We could see Burlington. It's just kind of a crapshoot. It's kind of fun maybe to throw some scenarios out there around the water cooler, but we just got to take care of business on Friday and focus in and finish out this week and see where the chips fall.
Well, we've been talking to Coach Rawson, whose Mount Pleasant Panthers are kind of in a hot streak right now and getting ready for the playoffs. Coach, I don't really got any more questions for you. Was there anything you wanted to talk about that we didn't get a chance to talk about?
No, not right now. I think we covered a lot there, and certainly give some insight on where we're at and where we're headed. So appreciate the opportunity.
All right. Well, thanks for being with us. And when's that Fairfield game?
Fairfield will be this Friday, and that's an all boys night. There's no boy girl doubleheader there, so to speak. So it's all boys. So it's freshman, sophomore varsity at Fairfield. 7:30 start.
I may come down and check out. Maybe I'll shoot that JV game so we can get you guys a chance to be on Round Guy Radio this year. You certainly have a big enough following to deserve a game. Thanks for taking some time with us, and good luck in the playoffs.
Appreciate it. Thank you.